And my name is Eastop, if you don't want to. It's Eastop, if that's how you want to. I always have to spell it because people don't know where they spell Eastop. And I had a bill come the other week. What was my name? Eastop, I think it was. So anyhow, I get called all sorts of things. Not that they don't call me late for my dinner. I was born on August the 12th, 1920. The gentleman on the right is my father, and behind him is my mother. And we were born in a house in Pembroke Road in Erith, which was owned by my grandmother, which is in the middle of this photograph there. She lived with my auntie. We all lived in the same house together, and we remained living with my auntie and my grandmother, my mother and father, to the age of 14 when we did move and split up. But my grandmother, as I said, used to think a little bit of me, I suppose, and she used to take me all over the place on various days, outings and one thing and another. I had this photograph taken with a cousin of mine. His father used to own a butcher's shop, and right opposite the butcher's shop was a cake shop, so you can imagine the times I had by nipping over to the cake shop opposite for numerous occasions, feeding myself with all the new stuff that came out the ovens. We lived rather happily, I suppose, reasonable for that time. At that time in the 1920s, my father used to. He worked at one of the local factories. He was asbestos, making asbestos and one thing another, which would be shot at dawn now these days if you decided to do anything with asbestos. We're coming up now to the time when I was looking for girls instead of boyfriends, you know, and we used to get about, and what started it all off, I suppose, I was interested in football. Although I wasn't very good at the actual football itself, I had a reasonably amount of knowledge of organisation and one thing, and I became the secretary of the firm's football team, and they used to have a club near the works which we used to go to. I finally met the girl who I got married to, and I got married in 1942. And that is my dear lady wife and myself. And I met her at the Silver Lounge in Bexley Heath. Me and my friend was sitting in there having a cup of coffee, and she was sitting all on her own, and I was attracted to her because she was smoking as many cigarettes as I was. We finally made contact with one another, and as I say, it blossomed out to the fact that we I suppose the actual term is we fell in love, I suppose, to put it in the vernacular. We got married, and we had a reception in the local co-op hall, and we had a wedding cake and all the rest of it. We were lucky, really, I suppose, in getting together what we had, you see. And after 2 or 3 years, we decided we'd have a family. I had my eldest daughter, Carol, and basically about 7 years afterwards, we had my second daughter, which was called Marion. But this is a photograph was taken in Greenwich Park when we were out for a day out. We couldn't afford a car those days, but we used to get about. We used to go one way from one place to another. This is when I got a little bit affluent, actually. I was joined the Masons, and how I become a member of the Freemasonry was my brother-in-law. He was a Freemason, and he was a member of. He had 3 brothers. There was 3 brothers. They were instrumental in forming a lodge. He got talking to me about it one day, and he said, you know, would you like to join? So I said, yeah, I don't. So, and I did, and I joined in a London lodge, actually. Had some good times there. We used to meet at the Horseshoe at Tottenham Court Road, and it was a beautiful little temple, actually. I joined this other lodge, and I done very well in there, actually. I went through the chair in that lodge. I was secretary for 13 years. I was a founder member of another lodge and went through that chair. Time has caught up with me, and I'm not so active as I used to be, but I thoroughly enjoyed my years as Freemasonry. I still think it's a wonderful organisation. If you live by those obligations that you've taken and listen to some of the ceremonies that you are said to abide by, if everybody was to live by those, the world wouldn't be like it is today.
Indeed.
I was master at 3 different lodges, and each time I had a ladies' night, and this is another photograph of where we're sitting down gormandising ourselves. This is why I'm so perishing fat these days, because we used to drink and eat too much those days. This is a photograph of me in my full regalia when I was in the chair for the 3rd time. Another one that brings back many memories, but unfortunately, like everything else, I would think 75% of the people on there are not with us any longer. Now, this is a photograph which I'm very proud of, actually. It's the family, my daughter and her husband who died very tragically, and the 2 boys that we had to bring up. My son-in-law, he was barely 40. I think he was either 40 or coming up to 40. He collapsed at work. He had an aneurysm of the brain. At 12 o'clock they found him. They rushed him to Dartford Hospital, the West Hill Hospital. They transferred him to the Brook Hospital when it was the Brook Hospital those days. We was all there, my daughter, my wife and myself, and he died at 6 o'clock that night. So that was that. And then, I don't know how long, whether she was suffering from it before or not, I don't know. Some little time afterwards, my daughter, she was only about 40, she developed ovarian cancer. And one of the things I can remember about that was that she had a course of chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And she had a wonderful head of hair, and she never lost one hair of it.
That's grand.
But every time we used to go and see her, she had this bloody great turban on,
Yeah.
packed with ice.
Right.
And
that did the trick.
That did the trick. And she never lost a hair of her head, which she was proud of, and I was proud of, really. Yeah, she died. She developed ovarian cancer, and they did operate, and they took away two tumours. One was about as big as a football, and the other one was about as big as a grapefruit. They took them both away, but she did die. She died about 18 months after my son-in-law died. Of course, that left David and Phyllis with 2 grandchildren to bring up. One was Ian. He just passed his exam to go to the grammar school, and the other one, Paul, he had just got a job for himself, and my wife, she had to change her mode of life for the mere fact that, I don't know whether she retired or not, but she gave up her job. She was a medical secretary to 4 doctors. Very good she was at her job too. She knew more about the practice than the doctors did. Anyhow, what with that, she kept her job on for a little while, I think, but then she had to move in and look after the boys. And of course the wife had to change her mode. She had 2 daughters, and she had to change to 2 boys,
Yeah.
which was an entire different organisation. And I suppose because she was getting on for 60, she was around about 65 at the time, and really and truly, I think it got on top of her in the end, and I think basically it did kill her in the end. But when my wife died, I still kept on the Masonic business, but my next door neighbour, who'd already lost her husband a few years ago, we palled up, and we used to go out together to keep one another company, one way or another, I suppose. And we had quite a rather hectic time before before she died. She died in about 3-4 years ago, I suppose. But we had quite a little time. We went to Austria, and the other photograph is one of the occasions where we have gone out on various coach outings, and as you see, I'm still feeding myself and making myself fat, and she hadn't done too bad either. Unfortunately now, the dreaded C, as they say, has caught up with me. I was diagnosed with cancer of the prostate about 12 or 13 years ago. I've had treatment which have kept it at bay up until now. It's beginning to creep up on me again now, and it is a bit active, and I've got to go for radium treatment. I've had radium treatment on the breastbone 18 months ago, so with a little bit of luck, the radium treatment on the pelvis where it's gone into will keep me alive for another 18 months. So, I had my 2 knees done. I had the operation on my 2 knees, and
What was the nature of the operation?
replacement, knee replacement, and that's how they found out that I'd got cancer, actually, because I had to go to Queen Mary's to have an MOT, actually, to see whether I could go through the operation of my knees, you see. And I was talking to the chappie, and I said, the only thing is, I said, I have to keep getting up during the middle of the night and one thing another. So he said, he said, we'll take a blood test with amongst the others to see if there's anything wrong with your prostate or something like that. And this is how they found that I'd got cancer of the prostate rather, They give me an injection every 3 months of Soladex, about £300 a time.
Wow.
I put it in the stomach there, either there or there, either side, and it's a needle about that long, and it's hollow and got a pellet in it, and they just stick that in and push the pellet in. They do that every 3 months. Now I had this diagnosed 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
They're still giving it to me. The cancer says I'm not having this for too long, and it's won its battle, I think, actually. What can I say? It's you imagine all sorts of things. I mean, I've had a backache for years,
Yes.
but now it's something to do with me cancer.
Yeah.
I'll get a pain the other week I had a pain in my neck. Oh, that was something to do with cancer, but it wasn't. It was the way I was laying in bed, because it went within about 2 or 3 days,
Yeah.
I said to her, well, what's the next procedure? She said, we can't give you chemotherapy, she said, because that would kill you, she said. And we can't give you tablets, because she said they would probably bring on stroke or blood clots or things like that, Position, she said, well, it will gradually go into your bones. So I said, oh, nice. And then the next thing I know is that the Macmillan nurses, or the Eleanor nurses, have stepped in. And then I had a call from Tracy here. Can I come and see you? So she said, would you like to come along to the daycare? So I put 2 and 2 together, and so I suppose now I'm really on the terminal list, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But our terminal, I don't know, because how long's a piece of string?
Yes.
You don't know how long a piece of string is. Anyhow, that's as much as I can tell you up to date. I've had a good life, and I'm hoping that this will be used for perhaps accumulating money, if necessary, to help people who are in the same boat as myself, help the authorities who have to beg from charity to keep themselves going. So just as a final thank you to various people that I've included in my potted autobiography, but I would like to pay a little tribute to what has been the basis of my life, to my wife, who we spent 52 years together. Unfortunately, she died some 15 years ago. We had such a happy life together that it has made my life a lot easier. And so I would like to pay thanks to her so that I could recall what I have recalled just recently, and pay a great tribute to her for making my life as happy, I suppose, as it can be with anybody. You have our ups and downs, but I pay her great tribute. My thanks also go to my daughter, Marion, who took over from my wife when she died, and she has been a great help to me. And I don't think I would have managed without her any more than I would have managed without my wife. So between the two of them, I would like to try a tribute to them for the pleasant life that I have led. And also that I would just like to pay tribute to the new friends that I've found, and especially to Tracy, Stephen and Tanya, for pointing me in the right direction now that I have developed the big C, as they term it. And I've got a new outlook on life, and now that I've joined the association of many great friends I've made in the last couple of months in the daycare centre, and I do thank them all, and I look forward to spending many a happy hour with them. And with that, all I must say is that to all my friends and people that I thank them all, and God bless all of them. Thank you very much for listening to my little tale of woe over the past few hours. Thank you.